Hello everybody, we're back with the Easy Do.
Easy do.
Yeah, Easy Do. Hello everybody, this is Eli with
Enjoy doing DIY.
coming to you to talk to you about a custom ITX build that we're doing in this Apple IIgs case. Here it says it was manufactured in 1987, Apple Computer Incorporated. And the thing that I love about this isn't just the form factor, it's the functionality. There are these two latches on the back that you can see here that push in that allow the lid of the case to just lift off. Now, I've already done a whole lot of clearing for this. A lot of this has already been finished up, but there's this third piece. This removes via these three latches on the underside. Now, these three latches cover the pins that hold the lid on. These flaps need to be removed so I can get to my cable management just a little bit better, and there's also some nubs there and a little bit of protrusion. And another thing that I just really enjoy about this is its rigidity. I mean, this is back when Apple really knew how to make a sturdy product. Even though this is all just ABS, I can squeeze it and flex it and it just feels like it'll never break. So let's get on to a little bit of the Dremel work and then we'll talk specs whenever we go to install. Alright, so we're laying our I/O out, and I'm looking right here because this plastic is actually about the size of the standoffs whenever I have this inside. You can't really see it from there, but there's a little hexagonal guy sticking up right there. So that's about the clearance that I need. So I'm going to start from here over, and I'm just going to start cutting through a lot of these, I don't know what to call them, greebles, extrusions, but they're going to have to come off, so. Alright, now let's check our I/O fitment over here. Whoops!
It's a good thing you just said it'll never break.
Yeah, no, that sturdiness though, you know? Still rigid, and even with all of that material removed, I mean, yeah, it's a little flexible, but once everything's installed, it's not really gonna matter. And she looks pretty good, but I still have some nubbins to remove down here, but I want to use one of those rounded tips and just kind of grind those off. It'll take a little longer, but it'll give me a better finish on some of these pieces, and I can clean it up a little bit, you know, down in here and through all of this bullshit. Now, what I need to do is I need to pop these three tabs. Pretty stubborn because of that durable plastic, you know. These are what I'm removing right quick, along with this nub right here. And now that seems to have just about all the cutting that I need to get done, so you see I've kind of just evened that all off, and that I'm gonna have to give these a rinse and a dry before I install these because of all that plastic dust that you can see on the table. Sorry about dropping parts, but like I said, fumble fingers. Now, this is the last thing that I believe that we have to do, and then we can go on to fitting hardware into this after we wash this. Now that I've got the little bit of flashing or whatever you would call it off there. Was it satisfying as I think it was?
It was crisp.
The guy was just like, just some jack off in a warehouse selling keycaps. They were advertised as dye sub. In the pictures, the legend was dark, but the legend is like transparent. And then instead of trying to address the issue, he got pedantic about whether or not the keycaps were laser engraved or dye sub. And it's like, dude, like, send me another enter key. Don't argue with me about the process that the keycaps were made. But no, that never happened. He just wanted to like be petty about the one keycap. So I am a little upset that it's gonna have to be in the video. I don't know if you can see that, but look at that enter key and tell me that that is a good product.
Yeah, no. That's weird, dude.
But this is a Durgod Taurus K320. It's got cherry browns in it. I know there's some cherry brown haters out there. But this thing is heavy. I mean, it comes in something like 19 ounces, I believe, like 19 to 21, depending on if you get the K320 or like their RGB version. I think might have a denser plate. It's not just like Chinesium, it's actually brass or stainless. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's just a couple ounces heavier. But this is the keyboard I'm using for the build. Going on this, we've got the B450i AORUS Pro Wi-Fi that is running an AM4 socket. I only have a Ryzen 3 3200G that's going in this. I will have a data sheet up there soon for you. Then we are also going with a GTX 1650 low profile. I opted to go with the DDR5 version because just reading through forums and looking at various data sheets, it seemed that the DDR5 option actually had better thermals, and it seems like it was because the DDR6 version was trying to pull about 85 watts through your PCIe slot, and for those of you who know standards on PCIe slots, you only get a maximum of 75. So I don't know if it was trying to pull too much power, but it seems like the DDR5 version has a little bit better thermals, although I haven't looked at performance. I was just going because I'm building an SFF case. It's old, I don't want it to get hot and maybe start smelling. I don't know what's in the plastic. I think some of the coloration is from corrosion and acids that were in various capacitors at the time. Let's get on with dismantling this PC, which I've been using to house all of the components for this build minus our TFX power supply. I actually have that right down here. This is a Silverstone TX300, 80 plus gold, or 80 plus bronze, my bad. I guess that might be some wishful thinking on my part because I absolutely love the form factor of these Silverstone power supplies. And I mean, whether you're going to build a server box or whatever, Silverstone really makes some good strange form factor power supplies. They might be hard to get your hands on, and I mean, I had to make cardboard mock-ups of the power supply from dimensions available online to find out if it would fit in this case. I don't know how many of you other SFF PC people do that. Maybe let me know in the comments. I have this ruler for scale, so while we're doing top-down shots, this will just kind of be in frame to give you an idea of the general scale and layout of this build. Alright everybody, so I have a hobby knife. I have this Electop brand cable. It's 27 inches long, and it's got your reset switch, power switch, hard drive indicator, and power indicator with these DuPont point connections. I was already using one as a power switch for this PC just because I wanted to see if they would work, so that's why they're all kind of jumbled. So TG7 with their diamond paste is what I'm using. Thermal take, pretty standard. And then for mounting purposes, I have this, and it's called PET film over silicone with some kind of a reusable adhesive. They call it nanotape. Kind of becoming all the rage these days. I've been really enjoying using it for various mounting projects as it doesn't leave behind any adhesive and it has a really strong bond. The 16-foot roll was $6.99 on Amazon. We'll get on to that soon. So here we have our Gigabyte GTX 1650. It's the low profile. I'll have the metrics and sizes for you all in the link. Now we have to remove this bracket here, and there's two screws. There's two small screws, and then these guys on either side of that. DVI, I think it's DVI, I don't know. DVI, VGA, one of the acronyms either way. Alright, gonna go ahead and remove these itty bitty screws here. Now I know what you might be thinking, why am I going ahead and doing all of this disassembly before I've got the case ready? Well, it's because I've actually already practiced this a good bit. And I mean, I'm just being honest with you, this has been a long time coming, a lot of research and a lot of doing, so if it seems like this is a complex build and I'm just kind of flying by the seat of my pants, I'm not. I've had this planned for a while. And one thing I love about these ITX motherboards, they're 170 by 170 millimeters to start, so 6.7 by 6.7 inches. They've got a great form factor, and they only need 4 screws. 4 screws, 4 standoffs, and you're done. Right here we have a Kingston A400 480 gig that already has all of our stuff installed. I already have Microsoft Flight Sim and Horizon 4 and a bunch of other games pre-installed. So I'm lining up on the test bench now. Again, we just have the 4 screws to install. And this is just so I have a standoff from the ABS plastic in the case. I mean, you still don't want your motherboard directly attached to whatever you're mounting it. This was $16 on Amazon.com. I don't want that to end up in components. So if you're working with dremeling plastic, be careful about the little bits that come off. They can get into your components and just cause a real mess. You really don't want those anywhere near your system. Yeah, like and subscribe. All that good stuff. This part that I cleaned up earlier, gonna go ahead and snap that into the case. Once it's lined up, snaps it. Now the issue that I was having earlier previously in this build was I/O, but I think that we've got that sorted out pretty solidly. Rigidity, access to about everything in there. The only thing that I'm still just a little bit nervous about is accessing my GPU through back here. So I'm gonna go ahead and slap my GPU on, measure out some of this foam, and see about mounting it, and then PSU fitment. Snapped in. Alrighty everybody, we're back. I had to clear up the power supply inlet just a little bit there. Right there, as you can see. Now I can actually fit this guy through there. So let's go ahead, set our motherboard back where we were going to have it. Whatever fleck of stuff that is off. Pull this forward, and it looks like we have the perfect amount of clearance to actually cable manage that behind our GPU a little bit. We'll find out whenever we get everything mounted though. So the idea here is to assemble the computer and have it wired and ready to go, and then mount everything in once I understand the placement of everything. I always have problems with multi-pin connectors though, because sometimes they get bunched up and some are spaced farther apart, and you just gotta wiggle it until it'll really get down in there. There we go. And a click. Then these guys are all extraneous. They're all unnecessary. You can get rid of them. That is part of why we got rid of those flaps earlier. I don't know if you can see behind the power supply, but I'm tucking these cables in to that channel that I had just cut out off to the side over here. Same thing with this guy. Now that I have this figured out pretty well, there's some tight squeezes and some fitment, but we're making progress. Just trying to get all of that tucked in the front. It looks like it fits. That looks good, and looks like it'll give us the clearance to still close the case properly. So, I'm gonna grab, and this stuff is actually a pain to get out of the bag. I don't know if you can see it just sticks to everything it touches, but let's see if it'll focus in on that. Look at how thick that tape is. It's shipped with these little mounting hooks. Don't know what I'll use them for, but this is so thick, so sticky. Can't wait to get it on. I don't recommend you doing this if you're using a nice case, but I mean, I don't care. So I'm gonna just lay it out on the case. I'm gonna use my hobby knife here. Worked like a charm. It was a lot gooier than I expected it to be, but that's fine. Gonna use this diagonally underneath my motherboard, and this stuff is heat resistant too. It's silicone. Oh, isn't that just satisfying? Then I'm just rolling my screwdriver down it to try to get any air bubbles out. Try to really give it contact to that paper that's back there. I'm leaving the paper on the acrylic sheet just because I want to be able to reuse this, and just in case this adhesive might not, work as advertised. How does it look, cameraman?
You're clear.
Okay. And as close to the back of the case as possible is where we're wanting to go. Now, it's mounted securely in place. I'm not going to pick up the system by it, but it's not going anywhere. Our SSD will be mounting right there underneath our graphics card. That's why I have that cable right in there. Now I don't need anywhere near as big of a piece for my graphics card. Don't even need that much. Just gonna cut a square maybe about that big. I wanted the motherboard to be nice and secure, but my power supply might end up coming out, and the motherboard might as well. I plan on using this build for a couple of months until I have the funds to build up a 3070 system, but for now I'm just kind of having fun with this project, and we'll get into some more serious PC building later. I'm just gonna stick this to the power supply the same way that I did the motherboards, kind of on there. Move that cable out of the way. Make sure I've got it as far towards the front as can be, with this cable folded in, no cables underneath. Alright, and push. And there we go. Look at that, that's not going anywhere. So now that we've got everything mounted up, let's put our SSD in, get my monitor up here, clean this up, then see if this will post. The SSD installation is as simple as 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. See the L shape lines up there.
Agree. Agree.
Then just kind of post him up, down, and in there. Give him a cozy little home in that corner. Nice and cozy because he's probably going to be pretty warm. Now we can tuck this down and in here like we had initially planned to. And because it's bad juju to close up a system before posting it, let's see if this works. Let's get my monitor over here, plug it in, turn it on. Let's see what we're working with. Then this yellow guy should be, hey, oh, this is nice. I'm using this knock to a fan on myself right now. Y'all can't see it, but it's hot in here. Hey, she posted. Hey, it's up and running. Hey, open NZXT cam. I don't think we have permission to use it, but I don't have any benchmarks saved right now, so fuck it. I normally would have benchmarks installed, I just didn't at the time for whatever reason. I will, however, load into some games, so just idling, we're at 6 and 0, temps look fine. Yeah, she's a functioning, working computer. Let's open up Descenders and see what happens. It's an indie game that I happen to love. It's made by folks who also are into mountain biking and the like. No, I hope not, but alright, we're gonna go ahead and launch Descenders for you. One of my favorite indie games. I don't even remember how to go.
Good start.
Everything seems to run just fine. I mean, if I can ride farther than a couple feet, you can see not a lot of choppiness to the gameplay. Everything loads in just fine. Not a whole lot of frame rate dropping. I will turn on the FPS counter, or you can follow me on Twitch. I'll leave a link in the description, and you can, see what the gameplay on this is like. I'll be streaming on this system as well. Dude, we've got to fit in some footage for just like chilling on the computer.
Oh, definitely.
This is my cat Momo. She's a sweet girl. Hello everybody, we're back with the Enjoy Doing DIY channel, and we're doing our Apple 2GS build. I love this form factor, absolutely. Everything about it is just sleek and screams 80s beige PC, and one of my favorite things about this entire build that I love the way it came out is this rear end here. Now, that might not look like a lot, but it took me a good bit of effort to try to preserve the patina, and I plan on doing a lot of cleanup work here. This isn't done. This is nowhere near done. Today was a slap together. I plan on tapping and dyeing everything and mounting it permanently, figuring out fitment, cutting spacers for that GPU support, and mounting my SSD in here properly. But for the time being, this will function as a PC and have no thermal issues whatsoever. I will be adding an 80mm case fan as soon as I possibly can. The thermals, I have no idea yet. There's no way to know until I really get to sit down and enjoy this thing. It's been in the works for a long time, but coming up to the end of this build, we've still got things to figure out as I'm learning. Like I have all of the metrics for screws figured out for tapping and dyeing and permanent mounting and doing a cleanup video on this. So look forward to that in the future. If you come across this video, however you happen to find it, you enjoyed the build, please share it. You know, friends, family, whatever social media you might have. Just like and subscribe.
Just like and subscribe, you know? Over.
Yeah. So coming up, we have an aquaponics, hydroponics type build that we're doing. I've got some blue tomatoes that I'm germinating and some neat purple peppers and some interesting fruits and veggies that we're going to try to grow for you on the channel here, and we're building the grow boxes in old technology shells. So look forward to that. And remember, enjoy doing.